Hi, this is Dean O'Dell with Seven Gables Real Estate and the O'Dell Group. Today is January 26th. Welcome to another Tustin Talks. Today we will be looking at the Orange County data, followed by the Tustin data. This is the first time for the Tustin data this year, so hang on to the end for that, and let's get started with the charts. All right, let's start by looking at the active listing inventory year over year. We currently have 2,536 homes on the market. That's an increase of only 6 homes in the last 2 weeks. Today's inventory is the second lowest in mid-January since tracking started. Last year was the lowest at this time. There were only 1,080 homes on the market, which is 57% lower than where we are today. To compare to a more normal market, we like to take a look at the 3-year average between 2017 and 2019, which was 4,640 homes. So when you look at this, we're really still down about 55% from normal inventory levels. Now let's look at the Orange County demand year over year. In the past 30 days, we've had 939 homes go into escrow, which is up 39 homes in the last couple of weeks. Last year, there were 1,426 pending sales, which is 52% higher than where we are now. And prior to 2020, the 3-year average was 1,349 homes, which is 50% higher than our current demand. Now, all these numbers can get kind of confusing, so we decided we're going to make a little table so that we can communicate this properly to you. So if you look at this data, what you're going to see, and we're talking about homes here, the number of homes. Right now, there are 2,536 homes listed for sale. There are 939 escrows or pendings, which means that we have 1 home in escrow for every 2.7 homes that is listed. Now, last year, if you look at those numbers, it was 1,088 active listings, 1,426 escrows, which means we actually had more escrows than we had active listings that came on the market. So that's a little crazy, right? So we had to deplete ourselves and go into stored inventory, right? So what that worked out to be was that for every 0.75 homes, not even a whole home, 3/4 of a home, there was 1 sale. Now that's why last year was abnormal. That's why last year was crazy and it didn't make any sense, okay? So now we look at what is normal. Well, the more normal levels were 2017 to 2019. The active listings then was 4,640. The amount of homes in escrow was 1,349, which means that there was 1 home in escrow for every 3.5 homes that was on the market. So when you look at those numbers, you'll see that when you compare now with normal, we are still in a stronger market than a normal market. Next, let's take a look at the average expected marketing time year over year. Currently, our days on the market for Orange County is 81 days. This means that the overall market is a slight seller's market. Last year, we were in a hot seller's market when it was only 25 days. The 3-year average prior to 2020 was 88 days, which is only slightly slower than where we are today. If you look at this chart, you need to remember that day count. You see the legend at the top, how many days it takes to be in what kind of market, because that's important throughout this Tustin Talks when we're talking about what type of market we're in. So if you remember that last data chart we looked at and you compare it with what this data chart is saying, they're basically saying the same thing, which is we are in a market that is still stronger than a normal market. So now let's move to the next chart where we break down expected marketing time by price range. Now, if you're a buyer or seller in Orange County, this is the best way for you to see what's going on in your price range. As you can see, the expected marketing time last year versus this year has increased in every price range. You'll also see the different market types reflected in all of the different price ranges, with anything up to 1.5 million being a slight seller's market and 1.5 to 2 million being a balanced market. 2 million to 4 million is a buyer's market, and anything above 4 million is a deep buyer's market. So strangely enough, when you look at this data, really there are no balanced markets per se, at least markets that have been that way for 60 days, 90 days or more, which really starts to firm up the type of market we're in. But when you look at this market as a whole, at 81 days, we're still about 9 days quicker than a normal market, which starts at about the 90-day mark. So just keep that in mind. But you can see by price range, if you're a 2 million and over, for example, you're really starting to get into a balanced market or even a buyer's market. So now we're going to go into our final chart, which is the Tustin data chart. We make this chart on our own, so you can only find it here on Tustin Talks. And every 4 weeks, we're going to show you the statistics of the Tustin micromarkets of 92705, 92780, and 92782 zip codes. And we're going to be comparing data from December 2022 versus December 2021. When you look at the for sale inventory versus last year, you can see that it's 3 to 4 times more inventory versus 2021, except for that 92782 zip code, which is 17 times more because they only had one listing, so that's a little bit skewed. They were starved for inventory, but in general, we can see that inventory is up about 3 to 4 times in Tustin. Now we look at new listings versus pendings, and is the demand keeping up with the new inventory? That's what I like to look at, because you got new listings, which now keep in mind, we were coming off a holiday season, so not everybody's listing their houses during the holidays. But if you look at new listings versus pendings in 92705, you'll see that there were 7 homes that came on the market versus 14 that went into escrow. 92780, you've got 13 versus 17. 92782, you've got 8 versus 9. So in all of the areas, there were more homes that went into escrow than came on during the last 30-day period. We're going to keep an eye on that going into the next month and see if that holds up. The next thing we look at is months of inventory. You can see how short we were on inventory. Last year we had, a half a month? We had nothing, like basically nothing in 92782. We didn't even have a month. So it's just, we've been underneath the month in all 3 zip codes last year. Now we're kind of getting into that, 1.5 to 2 months of inventory. So that's good. But to be a buyer's market, you have to have over 6 months of inventory. So we're still showing a seller's market in the Tustin zip codes. The other statistic we like to look at is the average active price versus the average sold price. Now, when these two prices get too far apart, you're in a market that's just not healthy. It's like either the low end selling or either the high end is selling. So it's nice when these come together, and you can see when you compare them to last year how much closer they have come together versus last year. So we're seeing that in all 3 zip codes, 1.443 versus 1.257 in the 92705 zip code, and you can see how that plays out in all the other zip codes. The other thing we like to look at is what is the final listing price versus the original listing price. So again, if we look at the 92705, you'll see the final price is 99% versus the original list price, which is 93%. So how do you get a final price of 99 and a beginning of 93? It's called price reductions, my friend. When you start to see those start to spread out and widen, that means people are having to reduce their price to get it sold, okay? Versus last year, if you look, hey, it was 101%. You put your house on the market, you can sell it for more than you listed it for. So if we look at 92780, you can see the final list price to the original list price has still remained pretty darn tight. So that means there's a lot more demand in that price range because, as you know, if you look up, the average active listing price is much lower than the other 2 zip codes. So you've got more buyers in there keeping prices strong. Either that or the agents and sellers in those zip codes are really pricing these properties properly, right? Then you look at 92782, you can see it's a higher priced zip code. They have moved down to 96% with a final price of 98%, meaning on average, they have to reduce 2% before they get an offer to sell it for 2% lower. So that's how tight the pricing is. That's why pricing is so darn important, right? So average days on the market, you can see 92705, 40, 92780, 24, and 92782, 31. Now we're gonna have to watch these numbers as our spring market comes upon us, but right now that reflects a hot seller's market in all 3 zip codes. So with that, we're going to break away now, and I am going to give you my advice. Okay, so we're going to end this on some advice, and it's usually reflective of what we're seeing on the market because we have a team, so we have people out there hitting the ground every day. And I'm out there hitting the ground every day as well. And what I've seen is there is still a shortage of inventory versus the demand that's out there. And really what it's all coming down to is price. If you price right, there's plenty of buyers. I'm gonna give you an example of that. So last week we had a home that came up in Huntington Beach under $1 million, $975, nice little starter single story home. Well, we priced it at a good price, and we ended up getting 5 offers on the property within a week's time. Now, there was somebody else that came into the market and decided they were going to try to undercut by $100,000. Okay, they priced super aggressively. Came on the market at like $875, so maybe $75,000. But either way, they ended up with 45 offers, you guys. 45 offers they had on that house. Is that crazy or what? So there is not a lack of buyers out there. There is not a lack of demand. What there is a lack of affordability. So, but as soon as somebody senses out there that something is priced aggressively, you can see what happens. And that one, I'm told that it was at 875, has now been bid up over $1 million, as has ours. They're both basically similar houses, and they're both basically gonna end up selling for the same prices. So it's kind of like there's multiple ways to get there, right? You can price aggressively, you can price high and try to reduce, which I never recommend. But either way, they've arrived at market value because the demand is there. Okay, sellers, the one thing I want to say is this advertising, you continue to see that everything's free, free, free. Well, you know, in marketing, that is one of the most powerful words you can use, okay? So, or, you know, trying to sell fear-based marketing, like, oh my gosh, hidden charges, all these kind of weird things like that you see out there. First of all, we're very transparent at the Odell Group. Second of all, you didn't get to where you are today thinking that things are free, right? Nothing's free. You pay for it in the commission. And as far as the services that are out there, we've been doing this stuff for like the last 10 years, whether it's being staging, prepping the house, everything. Everybody's throwing it out there trying to tell you it's free. It's not free. It's all baked into the commission, okay? So we give you choices. There's different programs, you guys. There's no hidden charges, no anything. It's just absolutely the opposite. It's like, here it is. What do you want? So if you enjoy that kind of integrity and honesty, then you should be working with us, all right? And right now, I think experience and knowledge are probably the two most valuable assets you can get. And I think we offer much more of that than any of our competitions. We've been around for 40 plus years in the community. We're not going anywhere, and what we say we will do, and you will know exactly up front what's going on. Okay, so thanks for tuning in to Tustin Talks. If you want to make a comment, please like us, get the algorithm flowing here, right? So give us a call, and we can't wait to talk to you. Thanks, bye-bye.